Welcome everyone. Today we have another new episode and we have uh, two new guests from Learning Society, especially they are working from Sweden and have a lot of contributions in this digital economy, and especially with a lot of technological things and other things. And important part of that they are highly connected around the world, and we will learn from them how actually Learning Society workings and how actually Learning Society are connected with around the world. First, I want to invite Mr. Bert Ola.
Thank you very much for being
And then
here.
I want to invite, thank you, Captain Futures. Hello, everyone. How are you today?
Hello.
It's great to be here.
Yes. I want to start with Captain Futures. Like, can you please introduce yourself? And especially, I know that you have a lot of engagement with the Learning Society, and not only Learning Society around the world. You are doing a lot of activities, especially for developing human resources and the knowledge-based society. Can you please introduce yourself and your work with World Talent Economy Forum?
Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Silisa. I call myself Captain Future. And I've been working 10 years, what I call like a learning journey for myself and other people. So I've been full-time exploring all types of modern activities, how we create what we call a learning society. Now, we didn't use that word from the beginning, but how do you create a society where you together can learn about yourself, improve your skills in whatever work you want to do in life, and also improve what we now call the 21st century skill: creativity, curiosity, empathy, collaboration, and things like that. So, and it's been a very interesting work. You go to a lots of events and meet a lot of people and talk a lot about what's the cutting edge of what's going on in what we call sense making, wisdom seeking, understanding ourselves and our place in the world. So we can see now that there's a lot of problems and challenges in the world, and some people have been seeing the trends for over 50 years. I talked to one, Robert Jones, yesterday, and Buckminster Fuller saw this 50 years ago, but still we don't have the solution to that. We have the SDGs to work towards, but there's a lot of work to be done, and most people are choosing to ignore it willfully or unwillfully still. So.
Thank you. Mr. Bert Ola, I think already you done a sessions with World Talent Economy Forums, but you are doing a lot of interesting activities with your Learning Society and with the other different knowledge-based community and other things. I think you also have a very good integrations with Asia Pacific and the South Asians and the Asian markets. So can you please discuss about your Learning Society, how it works, and what your objective?
You can say this is, of course, about, first of all, it's not mine. You can't build a learning society on your own, because it's like, it's what it's all about, building something together. And I've been on this journey a little bit like Michael for, I think, 15 years now, starting to work in West Sweden to see how we can build sustainable regions, working together with different stakeholders of society, university, business, municipalities, cities, civil society, with the starting point that it's good if we have different competences, different knowledge, different experience. So probably it's better if we use this knowledge, this experience in a more productive way. And over the years, we have developed and coming together with people like Michael. I met Michael many times in Sweden. He's living in the south of Sweden, on the front side of Sweden. I'm living in the heart of Sweden. And you're living in Malaysia, I think, right now. So in this digital social media world we are living in, we are trying to blend the best practices and find people there who want to do something. And over the years, we developed a lot of concepts step by step, and Learning Society is sort of the latest iteration of that. So Learning Society is a framework, it's a methodology, it's a metaphor. We can speak a lot about this. It contains of a few elements, you can say. It's a way of measuring or accounting for impact or value creation. That's one element. The second element is sort of the future meeting places, the future events. With digital spaces we have now, the remote work we are working in, the physical spaces. So how do we combine that? And Michael, for example, has been in tons of these talks over the last months following the Corona time, so he has a lot of practice in this field. The third element is what do we do in the process? What do we do before and after events? Because we live in this knowledge arena now, and people are doing events all the time digitally, for example. What do we do beyond events, and how do we keep track of that? And the fourth is, what type of tools and mindsets do we use to navigate this sort of complexity? So that are the elements of a learning society. And we also have, like we say, an operating framework, which is more, how do we build engagement? How do we build the networks? How do we build the learning in practice on top of that, or embedded? And we call that 3L, listen, link, and learn. It's very much of how do you go about of building communities at distance? How do you keep track of the questions, of the new contacts, of the valuable knowledge that you can hopefully put into practice for new business or building better society? And how do we reflect upon this, and how do we improve? So these are a few of the, you can say, fundamentals of the learning society, and it's an evolving process.
Thank you, Captain Futures. You are future for the as a captains. So in COVID situation, there are a lot of challenges, especially education industry also has different kind of challenges. Let's say the second wave come. Also Malaysia in the first wave they handle very well. Now the second wave coming, so there are also different challenges. Asia Pacific and I think around the world they are facing. So what will be the future of the learning society? How we should engage more for learning different technology, different science, different engineerings, and most important thing is that how we can solve this COVID and this challenging situation.
There's a lot of tough questions in one. So the next step is like actually learning about ourselves and the world, and that can be done in all various forms. We've been knowing how to learn things for a long time, like from books and courses and education and stuff like that, and courses. And now for digital technology, it's easier than ever to just check out a YouTube video to learn something in a webinar or a Coursera course or something like that, and actually learn something. But in isolation, just learning the skills and the know-how and the knowledge is not enough anymore. You have to build several things as well in a learning society. One is the thing Bert Ola will talk about after me, that is like, how do you build the connections and the social capital? Another thing that I'm looking into, that I'm being part of for all summer, many people have been running all kinds of what we now call wisdom gyms. So you go to, at least in the Western world, many people go to the gym to train your body. You take a class in spinning or lift weight or do a group course or yoga or something like that, and you train your body. But there are very few conversations about how do you actually train on your most important organ in the brain, in your body, the brain. Like how do you train several aspects of that? How do you learn how to think? How do you become empathic? And how do you collaborate with other people and stuff like that? And so we're exploring how can we do digital wisdom gyms this summer and spring during COVID. So, and many of the most successful ones, like the STOA is my favorite, that's based in Canada and New England, is fantastic exercises, at least 3 exercises per day around all kinds of subjects and a way of collaborating and thinking together in group and stuff like that. So it's conversations, it's exercises, and it's thinking in groups and stuff like that. We can actually like scale all over the world because it's digital, it's easy to replicate and duplicate, and you just have to make sure that there's a good quality and there's a good outcome of this. But what I have been experienced so far, it's the best of them are very, very good. So we can learn from the best here as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Bert Ola, you are expert in digital innovations. Most important thing is that you have strong engagement with sustainable development goals. And how should we focus on these SDG goals? And what's the benefit of the society if they focus on SDG goals?
You're
Bert Ola, I
muted,
think
Bert.
you unmute. Yeah.
You need to be lip reader sometime as well. You need to develop that skill. First of all, I think my field has been social capital. So basically how we build relations between different stakeholders and use the knowledge. So that has been sort of my field the last 15 years, which I've been working on. Put into how you connect people, passion, and purpose into places, how you connect this. And place in this sense, it can be a co-working place, it can be a municipality, it can be a city, it can be whatever it is, a region or so. How do we build this? And I think it's not easy. One of the most important things is to start to identify. My starting point was to identify the people, because in the end, it's the people who can make the change. They are the agents in the system. So my take on it is to find interesting people, and we can go into how do you do that, because that's an art or science in itself to find the right people, depending on what you want to achieve. And also, how do you get people to be active at distance? Not when you're in the same room, for example. It's one thing when you have a workshop, or if you're in a neighborhood where you can go to the neighbor, but how do you engage people online and other cultures and other places around the world and start to work together? That requires some practice and training how to see this. So it's a lot of elements to learn in this sort of new emergent field of possibilities. We call it also opportunity spaces. It's like new places where you can create value together. And it's between the digital and the physical spaces. It's also sort of two realities. One of the traditional reality in the physical, but we also have this reality which has a bit of other logic. It's fast moving, it's in other places, like Michael said just recently here, a lot of different sort of dynamics in these spaces, from talks you have now in World Talent Economy Forum to Burning Man events and like that. So it's a whole jungle of different arenas. So I can see also from following a lot of the post-corona time, we are now in this sort of Zoom era. We learn how to go into a Zoom room and take what you say, Michael, a small picture of the people. You see yourself together with others. But there will come another time after this when you say, okay, what do we do when we have been in these talks? How do we start to organize the information and all the context? So this will, I think, is a progress in what we will see in the coming 1-2 years ahead. How do we organize these activities and networks? And that's a starting point. You can follow up with the questions you want to ask. But we have developed a lot of the frameworks that we think will come beyond what we are doing now in the learning society.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. For Captain Future, there is a question from the audience. I want to take these questions. Noor Fazrin from Malaysia, she said, hello, everyone. Greetings from Malaysia. What will be the goals for the developing nations after the crisis? I think this COVID-19 crisis. Thank you.
That's a tricky question. So the goals for developing nations is like make progress and not make all the mistake many of the countries and places in the world already made. So move past and learn from others' mistakes instead of making them themselves. And that means like a global collaboration and a sharing of knowledge and practices and experiments. So that's what the learning society is all about. How do you share your experience and learning in each case? So not everyone has to do the same mistake once or twice themselves. So how can we actually start a network of cities and places, start learning and sharing with each other? So that's one of the goals, of course. That collaboration will take a lot of energy and effort, but we are just in the beginning. What we really can do when we use the internet and the web for good, actually sharing the things like this. But there has to be like a deliberate practice of a lot of people working with this full time, engaging in what we call learning agents, weavers, navigators, and stuff like that. I've been talking a lot this summer to the people researching the role of the polymath and the generalist. People has been researching this for a long time, and it's a role that's been looked down upon in many cases all over the world. You can't get a job as a generalist. You have to be what we call a specialist. So that's been the story for 100 years in the whole industrial journey of our society, that you need specialists ever better at their trade or two. But the generalist or the polymath is the person who's not specifically good at just one skill, but can have an overview of what everyone else is good to and help everyone collaborate and do this. And there's been people all over the world in municipalities and cities and some of the managers and stuff like that in companies who's been doing this part-time or full-time, but there's not a deliberate role of this everywhere in society for the weaver and the navigator and the generalist, who can keep track and help everyone else collaborate and help the sharing of the experience. Yeah, that takes a lot of energy and time to actually go around the world and see what's going on here, what have you learned, and then you go to the next place and you compare what they have learned, and you help in the sharing of the learning as well. And you can use that digitally, of course, as well, but you also need to build a lot of social capital, like Bert Ola says, to actually make this happen, because you have to know people everywhere who you can collaborate with.
Yeah, I think I want to add something. Of course, if you work in Innovation Academy, there's a lot of concepts there, a lot of, maybe you have heard about them, the quadruple helix, the triple helix, the pentahelix models for how do we work together as a society in different actors or stakeholders. But what we see now, and why I think also learning society is a relevant concept, is that we can work much quicker beyond our borders, outside even the continents, in a way that was not possible before. And with this emergent new technology, social technology sphere, new actors and new fields and practices are emerging, which is new to the stakeholder models that we know. So, for example, in Sweden, we have a lot of what we call science parks. It's like where business and cities and organizations work together, but not what I would say really this global mindset where you put in, like you are sitting in Malaysia now, or another person in India or in Brazil or somewhere. How do you get this type of phenomenon or this space into the traditional arenas? That is a new thing that is emerging there, and a lot of new tools that they are quickly emerging. It's not 1, 2, 3 tools a day, it's maybe hundreds of tools. So also, how do you need another mindset to keep track and to navigate this flow of opportunities that is inside. You can't keep track and control. We speak about one of my favorite TED Talks is a guy called Thomas Power from 2010, The Future of Social Network. And he almost exactly points out 10 years ago what's happening now. If you saw the film The Social Dilemma or Hacker with Facebook and others, it's already long time ahead predicted, sort of. And so how do you create the mindset? He speaks about CSC mindset, the close selective controlling mindset, to an ORS mindset, or open random supportive. So it's like when you go out in a Facebook group, for example, you can see a person with an CSC mindset. He or she said, where do I start in the group? You can't start in a river. If you have thousands of posts and flows of knowledge, it's more to finding, the wave to surf on. So that requires a practice to follow the flow and instead of controlling each piece. And that I see maybe the hardest thing to go in this new economy, to let go of the controlling mindset to more a bit of flow mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, very interesting. I want to introduce two major problems. Right now, we have healthcare challenges. especially in the COVID period. I think many countries has this kind of challenges. And number two, I want to introduce the unemployment issues, especially in the COVID periods. Many countries has economical challenges and many business stop. And in that situations, many young communities and even experienced people, they lose their job and they do not get enough job. What you try to share with us, what will be the solution for this healthcare system and for creating more employment opportunity in this pandemic situation?
Is that the most difficult
Captain.
question? Yeah. Captain,
Yes, Captain.
you can take the easy questions, Mike.
I can take the easy questions. Tell me the question one more time so I can get that.
Yes, basically my question is very simple. First thing first, in the COVID situations, we have two major challenges. One is healthcare systems, especially in the COVID periods. Many countries, they do not have enough healthcare systems and the good infrastructure and other things. Do you have any solution for these healthcare systems? And second things, like this employment opportunity, creating more employment opportunity, especially like example, if we can compare the European content and as well as the Asia Pacific markets. Do you have any solution in your mind?
Not the solution directly. So the first question is, I'm not for sure I'm qualified to talk about that, but what me and Bert Ola can see, that if there are challenges like this, you have to start asking around, not just locally but globally. How can we help each other to learn and help solve this crisis? And that you can immediately any healthcare system or hospital or health service can employ some people that in a new role, what we will call the navigators, start navigating well. How can we solve this together? Some coordinators who can go around asking the world, how can we learn from each other and quickly help set up the healthcare systems to solve these crises. And so they should employ new people to do that, not take someone a new role already. So that's my suggestion, and I strongly believe that. And also for the second question, the employment opportunity right now for new roles, there's a lot of suffering all over the world, many people losing their work, and a lot of business and businesses going out of business that relied on a market that is no longer providing. Tourist industry, flight industry, event industry, festival industry, and stuff like that. A lot of people are out of work there, so there's a lot of suffering. So we have to figure out how to help people there. But there's also a lot of opportunity for new businesses and stuff like that. And here in Sweden, we have a institution that help people who is unemployed, but it's not doing a good work because the people working there has no idea how the world works and aren't looking for new opportunities. So that would be a good way to start to experiment with new institutions, what we could call an opportunity institution that help people facilitate and look for opportunities and actually help people in their journey of life. That's what I'm exploring on myself for 10 years now. How do you facilitate your own learning journey for life? How do I look for what skills are mine? What am I best at? Where can I employ all these skills? How can I help other people doing that? I've been using my own model that I call Ikigai 4.0 in this. How can you actually map out your life and see where's my best opportunities? What people do I need to know to make use of my opportunities, stuff like that. So there's a long conversation we can have on just that. But so opportunity institutions is something that we can start prototype and experiment to helping people along to find opportunities, because not everyone is equipped to look everywhere in the world. There's more information, there's more opportunities, there's more innovation, product, services every day. We live in what we call a great acceleration, and no person alive can keep track on all that. But we can have strong institutions of networks that help everyone along, and that's a perfect opportunity to start experiment with what we could call an opportunity institution, something like that.
I think also I can add there. I think you asked there if I think we are already solving it. It's happening, because if you look at the health issues, there is from institutional level, you see, of course, we don't see the full result just right now about the vaccine, for example, about COVID-19. But at least it seems to me, at least what they say, the WHO, about how quickly we work together as science, as a field, practice of science today, down to very local level in the networks. I'm part of a lot of groups. I'm sure you are part as well, and Michael, of groups that is helping out on a micro level. So I think the sort of new arenas emerging now is this multifaceted spaces. It can be very micro at the micro level, which is about maybe even funding some local medical help or micro solutions in different countries around the world. Maybe you build unlikely alliances between different regions and different places around the world. I think we will see a much more diverse sort of, if you call them opportunity zones, like fields where we can do something together. It's maybe not like the old way. We had the state, we had the academy, and we did it in this way or that way. We will have a multiple way of organizing. That's why it's so important to learn this new field, because my experience of meeting a lot of people in cities and science and business, the traditional spaces, many of them, even the so-called experts, don't know about the new field. Maybe they have know about crowdfunding or some ideation tools or something. They know by name, but they haven't used them. And they have definitely not put them into practice in their communities. So it's a lot of, so like if you have a small neighborhood or your co-working space or your city, how does your 20 favorite digital tool looks like? Do everyone know them? Mm-hmm. Do you know what 5 crowdfunding tools you can use in your city or in Bangladesh? Do you know what ideation platforms? Do you know this and that? You can start already now. It will be good for you as an individual or your civil society organization or your business. So I think we need to upgrade substantially, and that is what you can do more or less all over the planet today to a very low cost. I heard a talk just the other day from UN. I have it, I think, on my Facebook wall, where Microsoft is working. They predict 250 million jobs will disappear because of Corona. So they are developing now together with, okay, that's the big tech companies. We don't know their agenda, maybe 100% what they want. But anyway, they are trying to help out with new tools that could help entrepreneurs or smaller organizations to deal with their local issues. So yeah, if you sit at home, nothing will happen at least. You need to go out there and start to organize, and new opportunities will arise there. But and coming back to the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17, I think number 4, quality education, learning basically, is super important, because that's where a lot of the new opportunities and new ways of finding jobs or organize your society in new ways will come out of in the long term. So it's a strategic investment. And number 17, working together. So that will sort of tap into all the other goals. Mm-hmm. The other is more to find. I'm working, my passion is in health, number 3, or my passion is smart cities. So it's like they are 17. It's like a toolbox, or it's like a storytelling. But number 4 and 17 is like good starting points, education, learning, and working together, and that will benefit a lot of actors on the way in terms of the other poverty or number 1, for example, or ocean number 14 also. Mm-hmm. It's the passion. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You come up with a very interesting idea about learning and developments. And yes, we have a lot of opportunity around ourselves, and we have to connect with this opportunity. That is very important. Beside that, I want to know that how actually in that situations governments can create more valuable policy for their community, for their citizen, especially for the developing nations. Can you figure out some of the area which is very important? Even you are from Europeans Union, so maybe they have something good policy which may be applicable in Asia Pacific or in South Asia. So any things you want to raise? Yeah.
I think we need to upgrade the policies, the institutions. Maybe they have been working pretty well here in Scandinavia, for example, for the last 30, 40, 50 years. We have built them over a very long time. It takes time to build an institution. But we don't know how relevant are they in 20 years from now. So I think there's a big need for figuring out the new institutions. I would be a bit of not skeptical, but it's not only to take a Swedish institution and put them in place in Bangladesh. I think you very likely have ways to start to work and find your way out there. Like democracy, for me, like democracy is maybe this sort of number one value that everyone should have. Democracy is a big concept, but the way of how the majority can have an influence on decision, that you have an opportunity to be part of what's going on in society, and you are treated in a similar way according to the law. That's sort of elements of a democracy. So, and you can do that at the micro level as well in your community. How do you build a good democracy in your community? Do you listen to the other people there? Do you put up polls in the platform? Do you do what you say when you have put up the polls and listen to the people, or do you do other things? That's how you build trust and micro democracies there. I also think that what very interesting is this participatory democracies emerging around the world. If you want to go into a website called Participedia, there you find a lot of new tools, digital social tools for improving democracy. And so that's, I think, is a bit of what we will see ahead. For example, citizen juries. How can you engage people in the community in a broader sense, and using a bit scientific method of getting them engaged to take decisions and to figure out, is this good for development of the schools in the neighborhood, or important things. So you will find a lot of very interesting cases there, for example, on Participedia, of the future of democracy or how to build society. So figure out a little bit of the new things coming up, not only what we do now and have done, because we will also moving ahead, and we are moving ahead quickly.
Thank you. This is very interesting point you actually raised today, like this micro initiative, this micro society, the small community. We have to more focus. I want to ask Captain Futures that Sweden is one of the beautiful country. They have very good innovative society, right? They are very advanced in science, engineering, and technology. How actually, let's say, country like Bangladesh, even Malaysia, or example Pakistan, Indonesia, different kind of country, how they can develop their society based on innovations, and how the micro society or the micro initiative can create more innovations and this kind of things. What's your idea on innovations on this micro society? Yeah.
It's a big topic, but from my point of view, of course, I would push further what we would call the wisdom exercises and stuff like that. How do we actually start learning about ourselves and society in a way that we in our modern countries here in the West are not looking at? We say we're very advanced in science and technology and engineering and stuff like that, but even here there's no daily conversations anywhere about wisdom and how do we actually understand ourselves and our place in the world. If we're going to live on this planet for thousands of years to come, we have to get very good at understanding all the technology around us. And there's a fantastic quote by Jordan Hall and Daniel Slattery says that if we have to have the power and capability of the gods, we also have to have the wisdom of gods. It says all the technology and all the solutions we have today, they can solve all of our problems, but we don't know how to organize and have that. There's a lot of power structures and people working only to make money still in the world that destroying so much for us still. and we have to get ahead of that. We have to become as wise as we are smart and powerful.
Yes.
I would also say, to add that to that, often you look at other places. How do they do? Some of the most phenomenal people I met over the last 10 years are basically from countries like Bangladesh and Pakistan and other places. So you can look at what you have. Often you tend to look at, it's always greener at the other, at the neighbor or the other place of the world. So I think you are already sitting on some of the future of innovation, but maybe you don't see it yet. So it's on the one hand to look a bit curiosity to other places, and then to see what do we have in your own backyard that you could do something about. We don't know about the corona, when or how or if we will go back to some sort of similar situation. So you can't sit and wait 2-3 years for the world to open up. It's you start to organize and use your local resources there. One of my good friends there in Bangladesh, Sulaiman Shukun, I don't know if I pronounce correctly, but
No
just to
problem.
give one, he's fantastic organizer. I saw him today, went out, looked at banks' money at the market in somewhere in Bangladesh. So using social media is a big influencer, obviously, but it's like, how do you, that's sort of the micro institutions that are emerging and which you use, I said, more wisely than here, for example, in Scandinavia. Overall, I've generalized a little bit, maybe. Of course, we have places speaking about wisdom and others, but when Michael said that no one, I think it's overall, it's not that big discussion. We find micro communities very passionate about this topic, but here works reasonably well, so it's hard to get to the real to this structure there, but
Yes.
Yeah,
I
we're
mean,
way too comfortable to change
build
anything right here, right now.
yeah, build cooperation, start to make a map of your part. You can make it open source on and India or other places. Make it open source for your community. This is our assets in this community. Make it digital. Here's all the knowledge. Here are the tools. Here's what we're working on. Start to visualize it, what you have. Build a sort of digital bank of what you do. Just a few starting what you can do already today. And when you start to visualize all the knowledge and assets you have, then you can start to activate and link them.
Thank you. I want to add another things. Let's say global warming is another challenges. I think that global think tank and everyone actually alarming right now that beside this COVID, we have to face another things is global warming. Even what you mentioned, country like Bangladesh, Maldives, Indonesia, even many different countries, even India, USA, they will be affected by these global warming issues. And I think SDG, what you are working, SDG is a can be sustainable development goal, can be a very good solutions for these things. What you want to analyze on that particular points, especially for these SDG goals and how we can solve these global warming issues?
It's for me, this is a first good categorization. The 70 goals, you can start to find out, oh, well, I'm number 3. I like this. I'm in this field. But that will not solve the question. So because then you will find out, how do we organize this 17? And how do you go all these 200-300 indicators below? So this is just the starting point. You will come to the same issues as before in history. What has been the human assets working together? That's how we stand out, I think. So it will still come down to this: how do we organize ourselves? How do we go ahead? And we have been into this the last 30 minutes. You need to find the new tools, the new partners, the partners of the future. Find them who share your passion in your field. Who are the 20 people around the world who could be ambassador for what you do now? For example, what we do right now, we share it online. So this, I think, is how we organize. There is no quick fix. This This is daily investment, and that's, by the way, also investment in digital social capital. What are the 100 partners you need to connect with online? How much time do you want to invest in this? 2 hours a day, 3 hours, 5 hours? How much time do you invest in reading new knowledge, investing in your skills? That's all sort of the questions you need to relate to for yourself and for the organization and the neighborhood society.
Mhm.
And
Yes,
when you do that, you would start to solve the problems.
exactly. Captain Future, what do you want to add for this SDG goals as well as for these global warming issues?
Yeah, like Bert Ola says, goal number 17, the collaboration is the utmost. If we're going to solve all the other 16, this is where we start. We build networks, you invest in yourself, knowledge, network, wisdom, insight, understanding. Like you start with the knowledge, and then you connect the dots, and then you talk to then you find other smart people, and that's easily to do online now. So always look for people who are smarter than you and hang out with them online. An hour a week, an hour a day, 5 hours a day. Just invest in that and start connecting the dots and understand how they think, and then you take you take that and you spread that in your local community, and you find other passionate people who share your passion. And when 3 people who share a passion come together in a room, there's going to be a multi-passion. Bert Ola says 1 + 1 + 1 is 100. Is not 3, it's 111 or something like 11 or something like that, right?
It can have that potential. So
yeah,
but it's important there. So like you said, by finding people who share your passion, your interest, then you have this energy that you can do it long time. It's not only for the work day and then you go home and sleep. You do it because this is you are engaged in. So of course, to find passion or purpose, meaning, in other words, it's a good starting point. And how do you do that online, for example? Yeah, look at what you're interested at home, and then you Google or you search on Facebook for similar groups in other places. Most likely you attend a group and are active because you like it, not because you are forced. Of course, you will find working groups but it's quite easy to find out. And then you start to have a small conversation and things will emerge out of that. But also remember there to take some time to reflect. What did I really learn? What can I take away from this, and how much time do I want to invest in this? So you don't get sitting in, which is very easy in this digital world, that you get stuck hours and hours by only having conversation. You should learn and link something as well. So it's a balance of finding this and also to do something productive of the meetings and the new potential there.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to take some audience response. Wahid Iqbal, he said, thanks, Bert Ola and Michael are real voice of sustainability. Mohammad Shoel Rana, he come up with one of the question. Is it time to change the civilization developments strategy globally and focus on sustainable social economic development?
I think in the Nordic countries, we have a bit, that's what other people say, we have a bit that model here. So it's sort of the model we have. So in other countries, maybe there's always some kind of social, economic, and environmental effects, whatever you do. It's more the balancing.
Can you share with us this Nordic model, like for different countries from Asia Pacific, and maybe they can understand, and we actually share our contents with this remote area. Many students could engage with that.
There is a paper, I can share it later, written I think 2011 or 12, called The Nordic Secret. No, not The Nordic Secret. That's the latest book with Thomas Björkman. But it is a report made for, I think, coming up for the Paris meeting, climate meeting, COP15. So I will share that. But basically, it's a trust-based model. So we have a high social trust meaning people believe in the governmental institutions to a fairly high degree, and sort of maybe the opposite. I mean, the institutions are made up of people as well working there. So, but I think that would stand out as the Nordic model, that you have a high trust for the different stately or governmental organizations. You trust reasonable level, at least, in comparison to many other places around the world. That means that you don't, if you trust in an organization or society, you don't need a lot of bureaucracy. You don't need to write contracts and everything. In other words, high transaction cost. Because here, a handshake or even say, I will do this tomorrow, and you believe it. So you get, it's much less friction in society. And we are a country, I mean, we are up in the very north of Europe, and we are just 25 million people altogether, Finland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. So of course, here people, I think, know each other a little bit. You don't get anonymous. So your reputation is also in the society. So you have strong norms that are following the trust. Because if you break it, maybe, gossip and other stuff is starting to spread. Okay, he promises all the time, but it never happens. So I think it's also historically over a long time, it has evolved that a long time back we had harsh climate, and up in here in the north of Sweden, very few people and quite hard conditions. If you don't work together, it has serious consequences, because the neighbor is 5 hours walk from here if something happens. So then you need to rely on your neighbor. So that's a bit of path dependence if you go back in economic history and look why did we evolve as a society like that. So that's one of what you often read of, how did this high trust society emerge in Scandinavia, because we needed to do that. But also there's a lot of other factors, good coincidences that like on the global arena, things happen that was to an advantage to Sweden or Norway, to Denmark and Finland, that we could take opportunity that would strengthen the trust society as well. So it's not only that we are a big country and live far away from each other, so we need to trust each other. It's also other elements in that is supporting. And then I think there has been some good people in between who have been entrepreneurial and building this symbiosis between business and society, that took this role and finding this balance. You have some families, for example, the Wallenberg family is pretty well known in Sweden. They have been hugely important in industrialization of Sweden as an industrial nation, of controlling some big business, and invested back heavily in society, not taking out all the money and use that for nice cars. They have been really building a nice strategy. So that's, you have in the mix of this context, you also have some very interesting entrepreneurs who have done their part of it, and some luck. So that's a bit of things that could be why. Probably there are other people who have many more explanations to this, but I think it's something around what I said there.
Thank you. Captain Future, what you want to add for this? I think there is a question from audience. What are the challenges in achieving SDG, and how the developing countries can they overcome from these challenges? So same questions, I think, based on the sustainable development goal. Yeah.
I build upon what Bert Ola says. We had our journey towards where we are today in the trust, but so that's the journey many more can make now, especially using digital tools. So build a community, try to build trust, and do that by not using command and control. What Bert Ola said, close controlling and selective. Instead, just open, random, and support, and start trusting people before they have done anything, and see what's happened. So that, and sometimes it doesn't work, but it's the only way forward. We build this open, random, supportive society that depends on serendipity, trust, openness, collaboration, and see what's happened. We don't know yet. We don't know the future, but it's an experiment we have to make. If we want to make it as a global civilization, we have to start experiment with all kinds of solutions. So start doing that. Start to see what's happened when you start opening up or trusting people you have never met before, and see what happens.
I met the person 1 month back. I made an interview, by the way. He was a very successful entrepreneur in the valley in Norway. And he said something I was thinking about the last weeks here, that when he tried to explain himself as an entrepreneur. So I have one of my eyes is with curiosity and the other eye is a bit skeptical. But I never let the skeptical side take advantage. So be more curious than skeptical. And that, in another word, it's also saying that when you meet people, you can choose to have higher trust in them first than to be more, the negative side. So believe in people before you are more don't believe in people. That's maybe easier said than done, but at least the starting point in how do you go about when you build a digital community. You can start, everyone can do that today. Build a trust, build a small democracy within your digital community. See how it works. How much can you elevate your community? Let's say of 10 or 20 people, or 5 people, or 500 people, or 5,000 people. How much can you sort of elevate the whole community so it benefits themselves and the community? It's a good starting point to train.
I want to take another questions from the audience. What are the possible trade-off adopting sustainable development strategy in developing countries? Yeah. Captain Future, can you add something?
Yeah.
He takes the easy question.
Takes the easy questions. I actually don't know the answer to that question. Like possible trade-off for doing it or not doing it. Like if we're gonna have fresh water and food for everyone, and a fairly good society with sanitation and healthcare and stuff like that, we have to go forward and do things we have never done before. Because so we have to try new things, and that takes a lot of prototyping experiment. And not everyone, like I said before in the beginning, not everyone should do. We shouldn't run the same experiment a million times in a million different places. We should run a million different experiments in a million places, and then we share the knowledge and the learning. So that way we can quickly iterate and learn from each other. So that's the way we do it. We learn from each other instead of everyone making their own same mistake once or twice. So start organizing and learn from others. Look around, ask questions. Who have done this before? Who's thinking about this? What possible solutions can we have? And you meet the 2-3 people, passionate people in different places of the world. Say, okay, in our town we try this, and in your town you try this, and we share the learning.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I think one of these trade-offs is often discussed here is work. Maybe you have a work, that's the only work you have to earn an income. At the same time, it's polluting your city or something. So that's a very hard trade-off because it's survival for yourself and the family. On the one hand, on the other hand, it pollutes the environment. So it's no easy, I don't say directly an easy question to that, but it's a fact that we need to work on. And I think in the end, even if it's not a quick fix, it's also about knowledge and opportunities. Maybe if you get knowledge into the families who work in the worst areas where you maybe don't have a good education, if they have education, new opportunities will emerge. I'm pretty convinced of that. So I would say give good access to education to people working in that conditions, and new opportunities which will help themselves and the families and the regions will emerge. But there's no it's no easy there. So a lot of conflicts in in sustainable development. If you outsource a business, has been a big question here in Europe and US about outsourcing. We take back our business. So if we outsource something from here, some people will lose job in your own country and some other will get to work in some other. So it's like a win-lose. So it's also how do we invest in each other there.
Yes, Captain Futures, my question is that, okay, even though, like example, this kind of sustainable initiative, green technology is a very important, but it's a big political issues. Even previously, we arranged different kind of sessions with around the world. We engage with 22 countries with our World Talent Economy forums, and even for at present US elections, we are trying to engage with White House and the many interesting discussions. Even we find even in USA is a big economy. When they discuss about this green technology, someone discuss about green technology, they said it's Democrat. Someone discuss about this oil and gas and coal-based projects and other things, they said yes, you are Republicans. So it's a big political issues even in USA and other countries. Different political lobby and corporations, they are working on that particular point. But my fact is that what we actually learned from this COVID periods, how should we behave and how should we taking care of our local community, even though different kind of corporate lobby, political lobby and other things, they are involved with different kind of business and projects and other things. What your suggestions, what your advice, how do we can build up a better ecosystem?
Depending on, Michael, go
You
ahead.
go first, Bert Ola. I can go first. Like, I went to the C40 mayor conference last year in Copenhagen, and they're talking about the mayors, the cities, the municipalities, the local regions. The national government are far locked up, too locked up in many of these questions, and there are too many lobbyists and stuff like that. So start working on the city level, start collaboration between cities instead, and that has to be cities within your own country and cities outside your own country in another part in your local region or all over the world as well. So we've seen collaboration between Trondheim and Accra and Ghana. Bert Ola can tell you about that. So start things like that. So start work on the mayor or city level and stuff like this. I talked to a mayor from Africa, Nairobi, and stuff like that, and they are on their level. They can actually do things, call to action, and that as a citizen, then in your city, start making demands on your local mayor in your city to take actions towards the SDGs, and start organizing, collaborating locally, entrepreneurs, business institutions, whatever are present in your city. Start organizing a network between them and start making demands that we do something here.
Yeah, I would add something also. Maybe depending on what level you work, because you can do, depending on your role, you can be a neighbor, you can be in the family, you can be in an organization, you can be of different type of organizations, an interest organization working for the soccer development in your city or for business or higher up in a governmental organization. So it depends a little bit, but I would say start to look at the resources you have. When you start to see the resources, you will see that, we are not poor. In fact, we have something that we can start to grow. It's not static. In the knowledge economy, you can grow things, and it comes from the people. So that's the opportunity we have now. And you can go, for example, I will give you 2-3 examples. You can go into Shareable. It's a newspaper started 2008 with a friend, Neil Gorenflo in San Francisco. They have made sort of sharing platform available with examples around the world what you can do. Shareable, sharing cities. So it's a lot of practical advice of this is how we do it in Gothenburg, this is how we do it in a neighborhood in New York, this is how we do in Rio de Janeiro, this is how we do in Melbourne. So it's a lot of practice out there in all sort of fields. How do we build new libraries? How do we build new maps of finding tools that we can share? So that's one good source. Another with a bit similar is the Enabling City. It's a Canadian woman who built a platform with a lot of cases. Similar there. Can find a lot of cases. This is how I can do it. You have one in European Union, a study made by Nesta called Digital Social Innovation. It's a big library with more than 2,000 cases and actors of how you can build it. So I said, there is so many things out there that shows, do you want to build a library? Do you want to build a makerspace for kids to learn and build and learn to learn something? So just don't run around randomly everywhere. Think sometime and make a bit of research and start to organize. So that's what we do. So we say we listen, link, and learn. So and start to map the resources. And in a knowledge economy, the resources can be all over the world, not only in your backyard. You have also the tools and the brains and talents and passion in other places that can help out, which was not accessible maybe 15, 20 years back. So I think that is something I've learned from Bangladesh and Pakistan, two of my favorite countries where I have some of the best friends today, which was unlikely 15 years ago. It's totally unreal now when I see some of the most supportive people who inbox me and like you and other people who are like building better knowledge for me here in the heart of Sweden. So you have a lot of stuff there. Don't just look at what's going on up here. You have there. And you are part potential of the future economy.
Yes, thank you. This is very, very valuable like advice. Even World Talent Economy Forums, we have our research organization, Asia Research and Development Institute, and we have Al Noor Academy, Sarahadia Barhaj, and every day we have to do this amount of regular research works and like with lot of journals and things. We are developing our better ecosystems, because this is ultimately the way of solving many things what you are discussing. Definitely we have to solve our things based on knowledge, based on our expertise, and definitely we are trying to collaborate with expert people like Bert Ola, Captain Features around the world, because as much as we can connect with the people, the expert people, we can understand what area we have to improve, what area we can learn, and what area we can minimize the gap. This is very important. Like example, every economy has very interesting things. Beside that, there is a question from another audience. Sorry, there is two questions. I'm curious about eco village and sustainable city in Pakistan. Can you please add valuable suggestions and what action to be taken? Thank you. I think Wahid Iqbal.
Yeah, we are connected. I'm not an expert in this area, but I have one of our very good friends, James Ehrlich, started the Regen Villages. It's a startup in this field. So I would suggest the same way. I'm not an expert. Michael might know a little bit more than me, but there is a lot of eco villages networks out there. So I would say start to Google. That's, if you don't know, start to Google and find some YouTube videos on it and build a network and community. Join the community. Join 3-4 community. Have a conversation like you do now. Ask the question, Google, iterate. So that would be my starting point. Maybe I also want to add something on research. I started a bit in traditional research in a university. And what I see is a little bit with the new era we are in now, with the social media and the talks we have now, the democratization of social media, of using media to a low cost all over the planet with hopefully reasonable connection, is that we need also the competence, like one of our friends, Rehan Alaval, is doing often, 3 skills that you can start with. Learn to connect. How do you connect outside your circle? But the connect is not everything. When you have connected, you need to speak also. Start to learn from the other person. So start also to interview like you do now. This is a bit of suggestion. and start to make a small library based on this reflection. Then you get a very practical knowledge work that will benefit you or your organization in the future. Connect, ask questions, have conversations, do it digitally, make your knowledge repository, make a blog or whatever. In that sense, these 3 skills will be super valuable in the coming years, regardless of what you want. You will learn a lot of this. And don't make 10, 15, 20 pages of reports. Make small reports which is more iterative. So you can, that was what I was a bit of, not upset, but what I saw in university, that it took forever to make the research. And to connect the valuable knowledge to solutions took too long time. If we do like this, we'll never reach the goals to 2030. So we need to speed up this micro knowledge work, if we say it, and put knowledge into practice quicker, link resources. So these are skills that would be needed for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to take another question from Abiyaz Mustain. His question is that I want to ask it, Captain Future, how are the sustainable goals integrated into education?
How are they integrated into education? We need a lot of more education. That's the goal number 4. And that's on different levels in different countries. Like some people don't have any education at all, so they need have a basic education, writing, math, and communication, and things like that, knowledge of the world. And also some people who have a basic education, they need education to new skill or trade or tool about how can you become an expert in a field, become good at something, a trade, something you can add value to your local community or a global market and stuff like that. And also on the 3rd level, what we call when I talked about in the beginning, lifelong learning, how to become proficient in what we call the 21st century skill. There's a Wikipedia page that lists them all, and that's World Economic Forum has made a list of all some people, before we used to call them life skills or soft skill, but 21st century skill is a better name because that sets an agenda for this century, that this is something everyone should become proficient in. And that's part of the curiosity, wisdom, collaboration, communication, creativity, and things like that. Things we need: mindfulness, meditation, reflection, learning. How do you become good at learning and sharing and collaborating and stuff like that? So these are skills we all need to learn, and on top of all the other skills of actually know how to make a profession or a skill or a talent that we can support ourselves and our family with.
And I think sometimes it sounds easy to connect. It's just to add on Facebook. But there's a lot of there's a lot of friction of doing that. And even if you get connected, how do you take the next step? Because when you start to connect, that's where you have potential for knowledge sharing. And that's where you grow. That's the potential of growing, I think, ourselves and the knowledge, to start to share the knowledge from one place to another. So it's really key to go beyond individual education and understand that you need, that's what we say, the difference between human capital and social capital. Human capital, that's your own experiences and education. And social capital lies in the relations. That's what can speed up the individual, the different parts. Social capital is often said to be the additional value to the individual parts. So 1 + 1 is larger than 2. So what you can up in creative potential or working together, what is added there is the social capital value. If you can put that into some kind of structure, in some kind of way how we do these things in the norms or in an organization routine or in an app or something, it's a structural capital. Then you take the individual part into the social part and into the technological part. So it's also a way of learning how we start to organize our individual passion or curiosity. and the communities into next step.
Thank you. I want to take another questions. I think there is a huge response from the audience. Mohammad Shoail Rana, he asked a question: what is the role of universities and institutions for implementations of sustainable development? I think already you are discussing about education institution, but role of
I think one important role institutions have and shouldn't be underestimated is I think the difference between one of the differences that the difference between the knowledge process, the university process, as we have designed them, is that we have the scientific approach. It's not what we only believe. I think like this, or you think like that. It's knowledge. It's a way of, opposing, criticizing, come up with facts, scientific methodologies, regardless of what type of methodology you believe is a social constructive way of looking at knowledge, or is it a more naturalistic way of looking at knowledge? So there's a process, and that gives more evidence. So I would say the difference between maybe a consultant or maybe an entrepreneur and the scientific methodology is more evidence-based. You can trust it in another way. So I think it has a very important role, but we need to upgrade it a bit, the university, to have this role as helping out in societal development, and especially very critical issues of society where maybe it's not, if you have it's easy, it becomes opinions. I want to do this and you want to do that, but the role of mitigating the local action or facilitating. Do you know what I mean? It has this like grounded role, a bit more evidence-based. It can have that, but it needs to upgrade itself as an institution. In the places I have been, they haven't been upgraded. Some of the most, I wouldn't generalize 100%, but a lot of people, colleagues that I had in university, are still not on social media. They are in the libraries, and they are not out that frequently. So they are not upgraded. This goes not for everyone, of course, but I would say on average, that's my feeling. They are not. They need to upgrade more the practices they use.
Thank you.
To be relevant in the future. To be relevant.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I want to take another question from Mr. Shumon. He said, "How do you evaluate the credibility of commitment in climate negotiation?"
Yeah, the easy question goes to Michael.
I have actually no idea, because that's not my field of expertise at all. So but step number one is, of course, asking this question, but ask it to continue to ask this question until you find the answer, or become an expert yourself in this field. So that's the answer to many of these questions. If you have a question you don't know, continue to ask these questions, and if you follow the free quick advice from Rehan, when you start interviewing people about it, connect to people, interview them about this, and then you become an expert yourself in this finally, when you start talking to enough people and connecting the dots. So if you have a question like this, start finding people everywhere. Go into Facebook groups and forums, ask who knows about this, and ask them kindly, can I interview you for 5 minutes, 20 minutes? And you interview the 20 people, and then you can start connecting the dots between these people, and then you map out how it actually works.
And you can send the question to Greta. She might have the answer. Fridays for Future, maybe. Probably they will crowdsource. They have millions of followers around the world. So I'm sure they will look into all the details about is it trustworthy. So, I mean, that's the source. Look at the groups who are into these fields. That's an example. They go into the groups, what do you think about this? And probably have 500 answers in it by tomorrow if you want. So it's a bit of like
Yes.
the old way would be to go to your library and start to look in some databases and you will maybe get some answers back. But now you can go to Fridays for Future and start to engage on Twitter or something, and you will get this first feeling of this field.
Exactly. But beside that, we understand that how we can collaborate. And beside that example, organization like us, those who want to develop more research organizations, and especially we want to more focus on local problems. Okay, so how we can collaborate with more international organization for solving different kind of complex situation, let's say energies, let's say example smart cities and the smart villages and the healthcare issues. What your advice?
Start by go out, map 50 communities till next Friday around the world, work with similar topics. And I'm absolutely convinced you will find them. And then you connect with the administrators or facilitators in each group and ask them, I'm doing this in this country. Do you want to collaborate? And I think the days after that, you will have 10, 15 yes. And then you have a first call and say, I'm working on this in Bangladesh. What are you working on? And then maybe you start to have a small paper or like, what are your issues? Listen, like I said, listen to the others. How can you be helpful to the others? And something will emerge. You need to trust the process by doing that as well. But it goes to this, like, you have 75 million groups out there, I think, now on Facebook or something like that. I heard on the. So there's everything there. But go for diversity, go global. Like you do in research, you learn to what you're really good in research. The scientific method is to categorize and ask questions and find the problems here and start to get the red line between the pieces. So build sort of the puzzle. That's what you become good in the scientific method. So do the same, but use social media in this case.
Yes, excellent. This is actually very good learning sessions, and hopefully we will follow all of your guidelines. We have our own team and youth community, so we will help them to grow in that way. Beside that, even I know that you have a very good learning society, so even World Talent Economy Forums, we want to make a collaborations, and we want to create some small bridging in between Nordic society and the Asia Pacific society. Yes, even not only Bangladesh, even I think so, we have a very good collaborations with different countries, and we are trying to engage with more youth community.
Yeah, that's great. So you're all part of the learning society. It's a metaphor. It's more of a metaphor. I like metaphors because I think also I think Michael would agree. Language is very important when you build collaboration. It's very hard. It's easy to say to collaborate, but it's some of the hardest thing to collaborate over a long time with a lot of stakeholders. What normally happens when you bring in that's my experience, when you're in the same field, the same community, the same place, you know each other, you know your passion, but when you expand and start to have more cultures and more stakeholders, more interest come into play. And then it becomes harder to facilitate because you have different language. And often it happens over some time in collaboration that this is a bad person, or this is an idiot, or they don't understand me. That's when, and you always have this in all sort of collaboration, a breakdown potential. So that's part of the skills to learn to collaborate over a long time when things are not easy. When things are well, then it's pretty easy. But you see, the best way of looking at community capital or social capital is to look when it goes bad. Because then you see what we saw, the resilience in the community. How much can the communities take? How much can the society take? You will speak about climate change and biosphere and how much can the natural systems take, but it's also the social systems. So that's sort of the trust in a society at different levels, from family level, from society level, from national level.
Thank you. What you want to add, Captain Future?
Yeah, much of what Bert Ola says, like start find out where you can build trust and build community and the best, and take opportunity of the best communities, and go where the energy is, the passion. If you talk to a lot of people, you can feel, you can, after, if you get good at this, you can, after a few conversations with different people, feel where the energy and the passion is, and start go towards that. So
I would also say that find the passion early, that because that's where you have the heart, the long time. That goes beyond we just have this project thing. So because projects will end, and then you will have some time to next project, and then it's more the passion who links or is in between. So I think it's valuable to, and passion often goes beyond, because if you're really interested in a topic, you're often very good at it. So I think also this follows your knowledge and the skills. So sort of, and of course, that's a maybe harder question. How do you map passion? We can have that topic another call. I'm very interested in that myself. So
Yes.
That's
Well, this is very important. Like example, people do not know how to map their passions. Even this is very, very important things, and even in futures we can discuss on that particular issues. And yes, today we actually get a very interesting things, how we should learn, how we should create our collaborations, and how we should focus on research. And especially there are many issues for SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and we have to focus based on our local ecosystem, based on our local cultures. And definitely what we understand that we have a very good global community, and we have to know how to connect with the global community. And that is the World Talent Economy Forums actually doing. We are focusing on every individual's peoples, those who are like inside our circles, and we are trying to make a better collaborations, better partnerships, and we are trying to learn from each other, and that is the way we can grow together. And beside that, I want to go for directly the concluding remarks. I want to start with Captain Futures, what you want to say for today's as a concluding remarks, and then I request for Mr. Bert Ola.
Yeah. So I can only agree with Bert Ola. Like, that's how I found Bert Ola. Like, I could see this is a guy who has a deep passion for this. Nowadays, I can call Bert Ola can call me in the middle of the night, and we start talking about our passion and around this, and we do this for life. This is something we signed up for life. You can, when you find people who are like that, and it's not something they do during the paid work hours, and you can't reach them after that. You know that you're found the right guy. So. And how do you develop and find your own passion? That I struggled with my whole life, and that's why I made a model that I called Ikigai 4.0, that I can actually work on myself. So that I've been using on myself for 10 years now, to find out what am I curious about, what am I skillful about, what can I spend hours upon without getting tired. So that's what I started using my own framework on that, and now I teach that to other people. So this is something I do. They help people on the life journey to find their passion and their interest, and the network and the energy and the collaboration. So all things around that as well. Just not just the passion, but the collaboration and the mindset and the skills and the tools you need to actually continue to follow that. So that's what I can do and help people in that lifelong journey of discovering your own identity, and also developing and shaping your own identity. Who do you want to be, and how do you make that happen?
Thank you. There is actually last questions. Just I want to go for the concluding remarks, but I think Bert Ola, because there are huge audience response and questions. How do you measure the social impact of the use of renewable energy sources in electricity and generations? Anyway,
I take the easy question, right?
That's Michael's. That was a long question. Social impact. I would think it depends a little bit in where you live, what context. Probably in a rural area in Bangladesh. I don't know. I never went there, so I don't know if you were in Bangladesh there. But if the implementation of a renewable energy there would help the local community in getting job and a less hardship. I mean, for the family, the women maybe don't need to work 16 hours. That is at least the picture that you get out, that they put a lot of time for taking care of the family. Maybe they have a bit more time for reading and developing their skills and educating the children. So social impact of renewable energy might be that you get time to educate yourself. That could be social impact. Maybe a bit long. It's not you invest in this and you will have that outcome immediately after, but that's an interesting impact. Do you really influence the society and the bigger family when you do this investment in different technology?
Mhm.
I'm sure there are lots of specific things in renewable energy. It's not my base. My basic fields is cooperation and learning, I would say.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Today's actually very good session. Those who want to learn, those who want to develop their plan for learning and other things. And yes, Bert Ola, do you want to share something with us?
I think I agree to Michael had a very good conclusion. Go out, listen to a lot of people, spend some time to reach out to new people. I'm sure most people have their own circles, but try to get the courage to expand your circle and listen to what they have to say and start to ask questions and build your you will find your journey and expand, like Michael said, your identity in that, and you will find new knowledge and learn to listen for passion.
Mhm. Thank you. This is very important, that learn to listen for passion. So definitely in the futures we're gonna go for how to map your passion. I think definitely this is very important, and especially we're gonna learn from your sessions. So thank you for your valuable time and everything. And yes.
I want to also add why I think it's so important, coming back to what I started initially with. In the end, it's the people who can make the difference. The technology and the other enabling infrastructure can help you, but it's the people who will do it. And passion is the source. If you find the passion and you can do it long time, like we have a conversation, then you can really do something. You can move things forward. So that's why I think it's really key to find the other people who want to do things.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and everything. This is actually really good discussions and good session. And thank you giving your time for World Talent Economy Forum. Future we're gonna arrange different kind of policy discussions, a debate, and a conference. We're gonna invite you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye. Take care. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye bye.